Money. Um, it is in everyone's pocket. Or, well, at the very least, it is on everyone's mind.
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
Right. Think about how many times you, the listener, have thought about money just today. Maybe you bought a coffee this morning and checked the price. Or maybe you paid a bill yesterday.
Or you're just looking forward to a paycheck next week.
Exactly. It is this constant, quiet hum in the background of our daily lives. And today, we're going inside a really fascinating piece of source material to look at exactly how we talk about this subject.
Yeah, we have a great transcript to dig into today.
We do. We are looking at a transcript from an English learning channel. It is a podcast called Snowcat Speaks English. And the specific lesson we are analyzing today is titled, Let's Talk About Money.
And what makes the source so interesting is the target audience. This was designed specifically for beginner-level English learners.
Right, like the A2-B1 level.
Yes. So the language is intentionally simple. The hosts on that show speak at a relaxed pace, they do not use overly complicated jargon, and they keep the tone very humorous and light.
Which is brilliant because they take this incredibly stressful topic, finances, and make it highly accessible. The sentences are clear, but the underlying message about how we interact with our money is actually incredibly revealing.
It really is. The whole structure of this source material is built around a conversation between two characters.
Let us introduce them.
Okay, so we have Luna, who is the English teacher. She acts as the guide here.
Yeah.
Her approach to teaching is very calm, very steady, and completely lacking in any sort of judgment.
Which you need when talking about money.
Exactly. And then we have Stephen. He is the language learner. And Stephen brings all the energy. He makes honest mistakes, and he brings this very relatable anxiety that most people feel when confronted with this topic.
I love Stephen's reaction at the very beginning of the source text. When Luna opens the lesson by pointing out that money is on everyone's mind, Stephen just immediately admits his own discomfort.
He does. He just puts it right out there.
He says money is a big topic, and it can be really scary to talk about in English. And you have to think about what he is doing there. He is trying to master an entirely new language while simultaneously navigating a subject that causes anxiety in literally any language.
Right. That dual layer of stress is something we really need to unpack in this deep dive. Because managing money is stressful enough when you are speaking your native language.
Oh, for sure.
You have to deal with numbers, bank policies, the fear of making a mistake. You know, a mistake that could cost you your basic security.
Yeah, missing a rent payment or overdrafting an account.
Exactly. So add the challenge of doing all of that in a second language where you might misunderstand a critical word on a contract or a bill. The intimidation factor just multiplies.
But Luna does not brush past Stephen's fear. That is what I appreciate about her teaching style. She stops and she addresses it directly. She acknowledges that, yes, it can be scary, but she sets a really clear goal for their conversation. She tells him it does not have to be scary.
And that is the mission of our deep dive today. We are going to explore exactly how she accomplishes that, how she uses incredibly simple, funny, and accessible language to strip all the fear away from financial literacy.
We're going to examine the specific vocabulary they discuss, words that describe how we use money, how we hold on to it, and how we actually make a plan for it.
Because the source material treats financial literacy as if it is a language of its own.
Oh, I like that comparison.
It really is. Just like English, managing money has rules, it has vocabulary, and it requires practice.
So today, we will look at how Luna and Stephen define the boundaries of what we actually need to survive, how they build a map for everyday spending, and how they use visualization to save for the things they truly want.
The overarching theme here is making this entire process, financial literacy, easy, useful, and surprisingly fun.
So let us start right where the source material begins, with the absolute foundation. Because if you want to build a house, you have to pour the concrete first.
Right. You cannot start with the roof. Exactly. In this lesson, Section 1 focuses on the foundation of financial literacy, which really just comes down to understanding two specific words, needs and wants.
Now, these are words we use all the time in casual conversation, every single day.
Yeah, I need a nap. I want a snack.
Exactly. But Luna forces Stephen to look at them through a very strict financial lens. She starts with needs, and the definition she provides is unbending. A need is an essential.
Right. It is something you require to survive and to live a basic life.
She provides examples to make this abstract concept really concrete for Stephen. She lists water, healthy food, a place to live, and clothes to keep warm.
Just the absolute biological requirements for a human being to continue functioning safely.
Yes. And what is really interesting is how Stephen processes this information. He takes Luna's basic, almost primitive list of survival items and translates them into his own modern reality.
He updates the vocabulary. Right. He hears a place to live and immediately says, okay, that is my rent. He hears clothes to keep warm and a place to live, and he also translates that to my electricity bill. He hears healthy food and connects it to my groceries.
That translation is crucial because it moves the concept from the textbook into the real world. Rent, electricity bills, and groceries.
Yeah.
When we look at those three things, there is no argument there. You cannot negotiate your way out of needing shelter or food.
No, you really cannot.
But then, Luna introduces the second category, the wants. And this is where things start to get complicated for Stephen. And honestly, for you, for me, for most people listening,
It gets very blurry.
it does. Lena defines a want as something you would like to have. It makes life more fun. It adds color and enjoyment to your day. But, and this is a very sharp boundary she includes, you can live without it.
The examples the text provides for wants are clearly placed on the far end of the luxury spectrum. To make it obvious, Stephen brings up a new PlayStation. He also mentions a fancy dinner at a five-star restaurant.
Those are easy to categorize. Your body is not going to shut down if you do not play a video game tonight.
Right. You will not suffer physical harm if you eat a simple sandwich instead of a five-star meal. The contrast between a glass of water and a PlayStation is massive.
It is night and day.
But the problem, as Luna points out, is not with the extreme examples. The problem lies in the middle ground. And this is the core psychological conflict of the entire lesson. She warns Stephen that human beings have a tendency to trick themselves.
Oh, we are so good at tricking ourselves.
We really are. We slowly start to believe that a want is actually a need.
And this is where Stephen's reaction becomes incredibly relatable.
Mm.
As soon as Luna mentions this trap, Stephen just laughs. He knows he is guilty of it.
He completely calls himself out.
He does. He offers a specific example from his own morning routine. He points to his daily triple-shot caramel latte, and his defense of this purchase is something you hear all the time. He tells Luna, I feel like I need it just to wake up.
Let us look at that phrasing for a second. He does not say he wants it. He says he feels like he needs it.
The word feel is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
It is doing all the work. Stephen has created an emotional reality that completely overrides the factual reality. He has tied his ability to function, his ability to simply wake up and face the day, to a highly specific, sugar-filled, caffeinated beverage.
Which is funny, but it is also very real.
It is. In his mind, the latte has shifted from a fun luxury to an actual survival tool. And if we break down the psychology of this, it makes sense. The morning is hard, work is demanding.
Yeah.
The routine of walking into a coffee shop, hearing the sounds, smelling the roasted beans, and holding a warm cup, it provides a burst of comfort. It's a ritual. And when a ritual becomes deeply ingrained, removing it feels like a loss.
It feels like you are depriving yourself of a basic requirement for a good day.
Exactly.
But I want to push back on that just a little bit, though. In our modern society, the lines between needs and wants are constantly blurring anyway. Take a smartphone, for example.
Okay.
The source text does not mention smartphones, but it is a perfect test for Luna's framework. Think about it. Is a smartphone a need or a want? Technically, you will not die without one. You can drink water and eat food without a phone.
Sure.
But if you try to apply for a job today without a phone number or an email address, you are going to struggle. If you try to navigate a new city without digital maps, you are at a huge disadvantage. Society pushes certain wants so hard that they effectively become needs just to participate in normal life.
That is a very fair point.
Yeah.
So how does Luna's very strict definition handle those gray areas?
Well, she handles it by focusing strictly on the math and the physical reality. She does not debate the cultural pressure of owning certain items. She listens to Stephen defend his caramel latte, and she offers a gentle but very firm correction.
What does she say?
She says, I understand,
Yeah.
but technically that is a want. She validates his feeling. She does not make him feel silly for relying on the coffee, but she refuses to let him blur the boundary. You can physically wake up without a triple-shot caramel latte.
It is true. You might have a headache for a few days if you skip the caffeine.
You might be in a really grumpy mood.
Yes. But your survival is not threatened. A glass of cold water and a brisk walk outside will also wake you up. The latte remains a want.
And she follows that up with the mathematical reality that makes this distinction so important. She tells Stephen, if you spend all your money on wants, you won't have enough for your needs.
Wow. Yeah, that is the bottom line.
The electricity company does not care how tired you were on Tuesday morning. They do not care that the caramel latte made you feel better. If you spent your bill money on coffee, the lights go out. The needs are absolute. The wants are flexible.
Navigating that requires a constant state of awareness. The source material establishes this as the first real rule of being money smart.
Being money smart.
Right. And being money smart in Luna's framework does not require a finance degree. It requires a habit of pausing before every single transaction. You have to look at the item in your hand or the item in your online shopping cart and ask yourself a very simple question.
Is this a need or a want?
Exactly.
So think about your own spending habits right now as you listen to this. What is your version of the triple shot caramel latte? Everyone has one.
I definitely have one.
We all do. It is that specific item or service you buy repeatedly, out of habit, that you defend to yourself. Maybe it is a specific brand of really expensive running shoes, and you tell yourself you need them to prevent injury, even though a cheaper pair would work just fine.
Or maybe it is a streaming service that you only watch once a month, but you tell yourself you need it for the one show you might eventually finish.
Yes. Or maybe it is buying lunch at a restaurant every single workday because you tell yourself you are just too busy to pack a sandwich the night before. Identifying that personal blind spot is the first step. You have to be honest with yourself about what is actually keeping you alive and what is just keeping you comfortable.
And once Stephen actually understands this boundary, the conversation shifts to how we actually track these items, which brings us to section 2 of the deep dive. Luna introduces a tool to help answer the need versus want question, and she uses a word that immediately causes Stephen's anxiety to just spike.
Oh boy.
She tells him he needs a budget.
Stephen's reaction to the word budget is universally understood. He hears it and immediately says, "That word sounds a bit like math class. Is it difficult to make?"
The word itself carries so much baggage.
It really does. For many people, a budget feels like a punishment. It feels like an authority figure standing over your shoulder telling you all the things you are not allowed to do.
It brings up memories of complicated spreadsheets, calculators, and that awful feeling of failure when the numbers just do not match up at the end of the month.
But Luna recognizes this fear instantly. She knows that if Stephen views the tool as a punishment, he is never going to use it, so she completely reframes the concept. She strips away the financial terminology and uses a highly visual, highly accessible analogy.
I love this analogy.
It is brilliant. She tells him that a budget is just a plan for your money. She says it's like a map for a road trip. It shows you where you are and where you're going.
The money map. That completely changes the emotional weight of the task.
It does.
If you are preparing for a long road trip, a map is not a punishment. It is the exact opposite. A map gives you freedom.
Yes. If you get in your car with no map and no destination, and you just start driving, you might have fun for a little while, but eventually you're going to get lost.
You might run out of gas on a dark road somewhere.
You'll feel panicked and totally out of control, but a map prevents that panic. It simply tells you your current coordinates and the safest road to your destination. Luna is telling Stephen that managing his finances should feel exactly the same way. It is a tool for navigation, not a tool for restriction.
And the way she instructs him to build this map is aggressively simple. She does not tell him to go download a complex app or buy software. She tells him to get a piece of paper, a simple notebook page. And she divides the map into 2 basic categories.
Left side and right side.
Exactly. The left side is money in, the right side is money out.
Money in is exactly what it sounds like. It is any cash that is entering your possession. Stephen understands this immediately. He says, like my salary from my job.
Right. That is the most common form of money in for an adult.
But Luna expands the definition to make sure it applies to everyone listening to the lesson. Because remember, this is for English learners of all ages. She points out that if you are a student, your money in might look different. It might be an allowance from a parent. It might be a scholarship or a grant from a university.
The source of the money does not really matter for the map. If the cash is flowing toward you, it belongs on the left side of the page.
And then we have the right side of the page, money out. This is the destination for everything you spend, every bill, every grocery trip, every single caramel latte. If the money leaves your possession, it is recorded here.
And once both sides of the map are defined, Luna shares the golden rule of the road trip. The primary goal of the money map is to ensure that your money out is less than your money in.
It sounds incredibly obvious when you say it out loud. You cannot spend more than you have. But Stephen asks a very logical follow-up question. He wants to know what happens if the two sides of the paper match perfectly. He asks, what if they are the same?
Like, what if my salary is $2,000 and my expenses are exactly $2,000?
Yes. Luna gives this scenario a specific name. She calls it breaking even. She tells Stephen that breaking even is okay. It is not a disaster.
If you are breaking even, you are paying your rent. You are keeping the lights on. You are buying your groceries. You are successfully surviving the month without going into debt.
However, she clearly states that breaking even cannot be the final goal.
Why is breaking even a trap? If I am paying all my bills, shouldn't I be happy?
Because breaking even leaves zero room for error. If your money in and your money out are identical, you are walking on a tightrope without a safety net. The moment something unexpected happens, a car repair, a medical bill, a sudden job loss, the mass breaks.
The money out will suddenly exceed the money in, and you will instantly fall into debt.
Exactly. Furthermore, Luna points out that if you are only breaking even, you are not saving anything for the future. You are stuck in a permanent present. To actually build security, you need a gap between the two sides of the map. You need money left over.
This brings us to the most difficult part of maintaining the map. Stephen wants to know how detailed he really needs to be. He asks Luna if he needs to track every single thing, and he uses a great tiny example. He asks, even a 50-cent pack of gum.
This is the exact moment where most people abandon their budgets.
Yeah.
Tracking the big things is easy. You know how much your rent is. You know your car payment.
But Luna issues a severe warning about the tiny expenses. She says, especially the small things.
Why?
She explains that people always forget the small items, but the math adds up relentlessly. $1 here, $2 there, a 50-cent pack of gum, a quick bottle of water at the convenience store. Luna explains that these tiny, unrecorded transactions can easily add up to $100 by the end of the month.
$100 vanishing from your account, and you have no idea where it went. That causes immense stress. You look at your bank balance, you look at your major bills, and the numbers do not make sense.
You feel like you have been robbed.
Yes. But the truth is, you just bought $100 worth of gum and snacks over 30 days. Stephen summarizes this concept with a classic English idiom. He says, small leaks sink a big ship.
It is a brilliant visual metaphor. If you picture a massive ship on the ocean, a giant hole in the side is obvious. The captain sees it, alarms go off, and everyone rushes to fix it. A major unexpected expense is like a giant hole.
But small leaks are silent. 100 tiny pinholes slowly letting water into the bottom of the ship might go entirely unnoticed.
By the time the captain realizes the ship is sitting too low in the water, it is too late to save it.
The ship is your financial stability. The tiny, impulsive purchases are the leaks. If you do not record them on your money out list, your map is a lie, and your ship will eventually sink.
So the obvious question becomes, how do we find the leaks, and more importantly, how do we plug them?
This leads us perfectly into Section 3 of the source material. The text transitions from theory into highly practical, everyday strategies for saving money. Luna and Stephen walk through 3 specific scenarios to demonstrate how plugging tiny leaks creates massive results over time.
Strategy number 1 takes us right back to Stephen's morning routine. They discuss the coffee math.
The coffee math.
Lena wants to show Stephen the true weight of his daily habit. She sets up a standard scenario. She says, imagine a coffee costs $4. Now, in the moment, handing over $4 does not feel like a major financial decision. It feels like pocket change.
Sure.
But Luna asks Stephen to zoom out. She asks him to calculate the cost of buying that $4 coffee every single workday.
Let us run the numbers alongside Stephen. You work 5 days a week. That is $20 a week. There are roughly 4 weeks in a month. That is $80 a month.
No, and maybe $80 still does not trigger panic. It is a utility bill, sure, but it does not feel life-changing.
But then Luna extends the timeline to a full year. $80 a month multiplied by 12 months is nearly $1,000.
The impact of that final number is immediate. Stephen hears $1,000 and his entire perspective shifts. The text shows his sudden realization. He says, I could buy a new laptop with that.
This is the exact moment the money map proves its value. It forces you to compare the long-term reality against the short-term impulse. Stephen is suddenly holding a choice in his hands. He can have a temporary sugary drink that lasts for 15 minutes every morning, or at the end of the year, he can have a brand new, high-end piece of technology.
The coffee is a want, the laptop is a want, but by doing the math, he can objectively weigh which want brings more value to his life.
Giving up the coffee no longer feels like a punishment. It feels like the purchase price of a laptop.
Lena applies this exact same logic to the second strategy, cooking at home versus buying takeout.
Oh, this is a big one.
It is huge. For a lot of people, balancing work and language learning or just life in general time is incredibly limited. When you are exhausted at the end of the day, ordering food from a restaurant or using a delivery app is the path of least resistance.
It is fast, and it requires zero mental energy.
But Luna pulls back the curtain on why that convenience is a massive leak in the ship. She explains that when you order takeout, you are paying for much more than the food you eat.
You are paying for an entire chain of services. You are paying the chef's hourly wage to cook it. You are paying the restaurant's rent and electricity. You are paying for the disposable packaging. And you are paying the driver to bring it to your door.
Exactly. The actual ingredients only represent a tiny fraction of the final bill.
Stephen adds his own observation to this point, bringing in a secondary benefit. He notes that cooking at home is usually much healthier too.
Which is very true. When you cook your own meals, you have absolute control over the input. You decide how much salt is used, you decide the portion size, you choose the quality of the vegetables.
So by plugging the takeout leak, you are solving two problems at once. You are protecting the right side of your money map, and you are actively investing in your physical health.
I think the third strategy Luna introduces is the most dangerous trap of all because it relies on human biology betraying us.
Oh, the hungry shopper trap.
Yes. Luna asks Stephen a very simple question. Have you ever gone to the supermarket when you were hungry?
Stephen's admission here is pure honesty. He says he walks into the supermarket with one very specific goal. He just needs to buy milk. Milk is a classic need. It is a staple item.
But because his stomach is empty, his brain shifts into a different mode of operation.
The modern supermarket is designed to exploit this exact state. The bright colors, the smell of the bakery, the strategic placement of snacks at the end of every aisle, it all targets a brain that is desperate for calories.
Stephen admits that he goes in for milk, but he walks out with cookies, chips, and a frozen pizza.
We have all been, Stephen. When you are hungry, the logical part of your brain, the part that remembers the money map and the difference between needs and wants, is temporarily shut down. Your biological drive for instant gratification takes the steering wheel.
Suddenly, a box of cookies does not look like a want. It looks like an absolute, immediate need.
To combat this biological hijack, Luna gives Stephen a strict, unbreakable rule. She tells him he must always make a shopping list before he leaves his house.
The shopping list is the ultimate defense mechanism. You sit in your kitchen after you have eaten a meal and you look in your cabinets. You use your logical brain to write down exactly what is missing. You write down the milk, you write down the vegetables, you create a physical document that represents your needs.
And the rule Luna implies is absolute. The list is the boss.
The list is the boss.
When you walk into the supermarket, you look only at the list. If an item is not written on that piece of paper, it does not go into your cart. You see the frozen pizza, you check the list. Is it there? No.
Yeah.
You keep walking.
The list acts as a vario between your impulsive desires and your money out column. It removes the burden of decision-making while you are surrounded by temptation.
But let us pause here and talk about the emotional toll of this process.
Okay.
We have spent the last half hour talking about restriction. We talked about cutting out the morning latte. We talked about avoiding restaurants and cooking at home when you are tired. We talked about walking past the cookies in the supermarket. If you spend your entire life just saying no to yourself, managing money becomes incredibly depressing.
It feels like a life of constant denial.
It does. This brings us to section 4 of our deep dive, which is perhaps the most important part of the source material. It is about the power of visualization and finding a reason to say no.
Luna addresses this exact problem. She tells Stephen that saving money can feel very boring if you do not have a reason. Hoarding cash in a bank account just to watch the numbers go up is not a strong enough motivation for most people to change their daily habits.
Human behavior is driven by purpose. We need to know why we're enduring the restriction.
Luna introduces the concept of a saving goal to provide that purpose.
Stephen immediately connects this concept to the idea of a reward. A saving goal is the prize waiting for you after months of saying no to the small leaks.
The text provides some standard examples. A saving goal could be a vacation to Japan. It could be a new bicycle. Or it could be the most practical goal of all, an emergency fund.
An emergency fund is a pile of cash sitting quietly in your account, waiting for the day your car breaks down or you get sick. It is a need disguised as a goal.
To make the lesson truly stick, Luna asks Stephen to define his own personal goal. She wants him to move past the abstract examples and find something that carries real emotional weight in his life.
Stephen shares that he has a sister who lives in London. His dream is to visit her next summer, but the flights are very expensive.
Luna calls this a perfect saving goal. It is perfect because it hits all the right criteria. It's specific, a plane ticket to London, it is time-bound next summer, and most importantly, it is deeply emotional.
He loves his sister. He wants to see his family. That emotional connection is what will give him the strength to walk past the cookies in the supermarket.
Here is where Luna delivers the most powerful psychological shift in the entire transcript. She teaches Stephen how to use his saving goal to reframe the way he experiences temptation.
She sets up a scenario. Imagine Stephen is walking through a store and he sees a cool new t-shirt. It is a want. In the past, if he was just trying to follow a strict budget without a goal, he would look at the t-shirt and tell himself, I can't buy this.
Let us analyze the emotional impact of the phrase, I can't buy this. It is incredibly negative. It makes you feel weak.
It makes you feel poor.
It makes you feel like an outside force is controlling your life and denying you pleasure. It is a phrase rooted in restriction.
Luna tells him to delete that phrase from his vocabulary. Instead, when he looks at the t-shirt, he must bring his sister to the front of his mind. He changes his internal dialogue from, I can't buy this, to, I am choosing my trip to London over this t-shirt.
I am choosing. That changes everything. The moment you say I am choosing, you take all of your power back. You are no longer a victim of a strict budget. You are the CEO of your own life, making a strategic decision.
You are standing in the store, weighing two options against each other. Option A is a piece of cotton that you will wear a few times. Option B is walking off an airplane in London and hugging your sister. When you frame it as a choice, the decision is easy. The t-shirt loses its power over you.
By phrasing it this way, Stephen is actively prioritizing his values. The budget is not a cage keeping him away from the things he wants. The budget is the vehicle that is driving him to London. It is a tool of empowerment.
Stephen is so energized by this realization that he immediately creates a system to support it. He tells Luna he's going to find a picture of the London Bridge and put it right on his refrigerator.
Putting the picture on the refrigerator is a highly strategic move. The refrigerator is the center of the home. He will look at it every single morning when he makes his breakfast.
He will look at it when he comes home tired from work and is tempted to order takeout. The visual reminder interrupts the autopilot of daily life. It forces his brain to remember the big why before he makes a small mistake.
It is a beautiful way to bring the entire lesson full circle. As we reach the outro of our deep dive, it is remarkable to see how much Luna and Stephen accomplished in such a simple conversation.
They took a topic that usually causes people to panic and broke it down into manageable, logical steps.
Let us review the specific vocabulary we explored. We started with needs, the non-negotiable requirements for survival, like housing and food. Then we defined wants, the optional items that bring joy but are not essential.
We completely rebranded the terrifying concept of a budget into a helpful money map. We tracked the money in arriving on the left side of the page and the money out leaving on the right side.
And finally, we discovered the power of saving goals, the emotional anchors that give us the strength to manage our map effectively.
Luna's concluding thought to Stephen is something everyone needs to hear, regardless of whether you are learning English or have spoken it your whole life. She reminds him that managing money is simply a skill. It is not an inherent talent. You are not born knowing how to do it.
It is exactly like learning a new language. When you start, you will feel clumsy. You will forget words. You might accidentally buy a want when you should have focused on a need.
You might forget to write down the 50-cent pack of gum.
But as Luna points out, making mistakes is part of the learning process. The key is to keep practicing, keep updating the map. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And as Stephen realizes at the end of the text, mastering this skill does not just give you money, it gives you immense confidence.
You stop fearing the future because you know you have a plan to navigate it.
At the very end of their conversation, Stephen and Luna turn to their audience and ask a brilliant question. We want to ask you that exact same question right now, wherever you are listening. What is one thing you are saving for right now?
What is your version of the London Bridge? Is it a plane ticket to a country you have only seen in photographs? Is it the security of a fully funded emergency account so you can finally sleep soundly at night?
Is it a new laptop, paid for simply by changing where you drink your morning coffee? Take a moment today to define that goal. Give it a name, and if you can, find a picture of it and put it somewhere you will see it every day.
Before we go, we want to leave you with a deeper thought to carry with you. We have spent this time comparing financial literacy to learning a language. When you first learn English, you translate every single word slowly in your head. It takes immense effort. But eventually, if you practice enough, you become fluent. You speak without thinking. The words flow naturally.
Imagine applying that exact trajectory to your finances. What happens to your daily life when you finally achieve true financial fluency? When tracking your map and choosing needs over wants becomes so automatic that it requires zero mental energy.
If you eventually know the exact value of every dollar and exactly how it serves your future goals, does that change the way you value your own time? If you refuse to waste a single dollar on a small leak, will you eventually refuse to waste a single hour of your day on things that do not matter?
It is a fascinating possibility. Mastering your money might just be the first step in mastering how you spend the limited time you have.
Keep defining your goals, keep updating your map, and remember that every small choice is a step toward your own London Bridge. Stay curious, keep practicing, and goodbye for now.